I'm just glad that I got to be there for each of those moments where like an American and like a Kosovar or Albanian got to meet and just celebrate that Kosovo is free. Hey everyone, it's me, Caitlin, and for our third month backpacking abroad, we volunteered in Kosovo. Kosovo is a relatively new country, gaining independence from Serbia in 2008. And so I'd like to share just a brief bit of their history because it's very complex and it's important for understanding like what they've been through so that you can understand why their culture is the way it is today. So way back in history, the Ottomans ruled the location of Kosovo for 4 centuries. Then after that, during the First Balkan Wars in 1912 through 13, Serbia then took over Kosovo. And then after that, during World War I, Nazi Germany took over Kosovo. Then the Republic of Yugoslavia took over the location of Kosovo. And so when that happened, then Kosovo became a province in Serbia, yet again. So then Kosovo Albanians initiated demonstrations demanding that Kosovo become their own country, but then enter violence from Serbia. In response to that, then Kosovo Albanian leaders decided to start a peaceful resistance movement called the Kosovo Liberation Army, which their goal was for Kosovo to become their own country. So then in response, Serbia unleashed brutal police and military campaigns against the KLA and just widespread atrocities against civilians in general. So that triggered the United States to begin the NATO bombing campaign, which was in 1999 on the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. That lasted from March to June of that year, and during that time thousands of ethnic Serbs and Roma and other minorities had to flee from their homes, and many of them are still displaced today. So regaining control, Kosovars committed to different obligations, like requirements that were needed to become an independent country. 2 of the requirements were embracing multi-ethnicity, as well as welcoming a period of international supervision and guidance. So Kosovars have faced a lot of violence and loss and uncertainty, but they've also experienced a lot of international support as well as freedom, independence of their country now, and as well as just being able to preserve their traditions throughout it all and be proud of those traditions too. So now it makes more sense why everyone refers to themselves as Albanian or Serbian, even when they are Kosovar citizens. And it also makes more sense now why everyone is so thankful towards America and just really big fans of America. So there are multiple people groups in Kosovo, mainly Albanians, but there are also some Serbs and Roma as well. There's also a really large international presence there, lots of Americans, Germans, Austrians, the list goes on. Regarding religions, most people are Muslim, but there is a small percentage of Eastern Orthodox followers, which is more of a Serbian influence. And then there's also a small percentage of Catholics and Protestant followers. Hey, it's Caitlin from the future, and I just wanted to slide in here real quick to clarify that when I talk about Serbia in Kosovo's historical timeline, I'm not talking about Serbian citizens. I'm talking about the Serbian government and the choices that they made. I recognize that governments rarely act upon like the values and the desires that their own citizens have. I'm not talking about the everyday Serbian citizen being responsible for those decisions and massacres. I recognize there are two sides to every story, and I am not familiar with Serbia's side of the story of why they needed to have that land so badly and were willing to kill innocent people who were weaponless for it. But I do want to be really clear about where I stand on human rights. I believe human life is to be valued and protected. I don't believe it's just this throwaway thing. I'm also very against racism and like assigning people worth based on their appearance is absolutely ridiculous. So when it comes to upholding those human rights, I did not see Serbia upholding those rights in regards to Kosovo. I want to fight for human life and against discrimination in my life and also with this channel. So with that being said, let's get back to the video. So with all of this history in mind, we teamed up with a church called Fellowship of the Lord's People, and in Albanian, the acronym is BPZ. So we partnered with them, located in Pristina, which is the capital of Kosovo. This church helped people in need in a variety of ways, and one of those ways was through their secondhand shops called Mosaic that they started in several towns around Kosovo. The secondhand shops employed people in each of the towns, and also the funds from the shop would go to funding some of the other churches' ministries. We were able to help with Mosaic on Tuesdays by sorting clothes, deciding what was sellable, what wasn't, what season we might like display those clothes, and any clothing that we decided not to sell, we would then donate to low-income families. Another way that the church helps people in need is by starting Houses of Hope. Their Houses of Hope are places where people from the community can go to learn practical skills. They can also take language learning classes, and it's also where they have kids meetings, which is like a fun event they put on after school on Wednesdays for kids to come to. So we were helping with the kids meeting, and basically that would involve like some songs that we would sing and dance to about God's love. Then we would play some games, one for like each like group, like age group, like really young kids, kind of middle-aged kids then. Then we would have a Bible story that we would share with them, as well as a verse to memorize. And yeah, it was fun. And a lot of kids wanted to practice speaking English with me, and honestly, they did amazing. I was always like blown away by how much English they knew and how young they were. On Thursdays, we helped with the church's Mercy Ministries, which is a ministry that meets with families in need on a monthly basis. They come to the church, and then we share about Jesus with them, and then we distribute food and clothing to them as they need. On Fridays, we would take a truck, which the church called Ark of Life, to a village and put on a kids program. The truck was designed to like open up in the front and like convert into a stage for puppet shows, and it had many supplies inside for like face painting and different games. So on Fridays we would take the truck to a different village, and we would put on a kids event for them and just have fun, spend time getting to know them. Our first Friday there, and we arrive, we meet some people from the local church there, and then all of a sudden there is just so many children like surrounding around us, and like asking us questions, wanting to talk with us. And so I get kind of lost in a sea of children, like talking with them. And all of a sudden I realized that I don't see two of my teammates anymore, Renee and Katie. And turns out that I like look over and I see a Winnie the Pooh in a Mario like costume, like walking around, and I was like, I think I found him. And so that story gets a lot of laughs amongst our team. And so on Saturdays, the church we were partnered with, as well as a couple other churches, would go team up and go door to door in villages and just talk with people, get to know them, and share the gospel with them as well, and hand out some literature to them about like explaining the gospel, and if they're interested in accepting Jesus as their savior, then like praying to him, to know him. It was really nice to get to know people and like what their lives are like on a daily basis. I really liked seeing people's homes, and yeah, people were just so friendly, honestly. People, when we would come to their door, of course I would say Persian Dehye, Si Yini, and ask their name and all of that. Shuhash, I think is name. So I would do my best in Albanian, and like I always had a translator with me though, thankfully, and people always wanted to invite us in for coffee or to have some pop, like they have Fanta bottles there. And after walking around for hours, sometimes I needed to use the restroom, and so they would invite me in, and people usually wear slippers indoors, and so I would take my shoes off and then they would offer me their slippers. And at first I was like, no, it's okay, like those are yours, like I feel like that's personal. But they were like, no, like please put them on so your feet will be warm. And like, yeah, that was just really kind. No one has ever offered me their slippers before to walk around their house, so that was really kind. There was specifically one village that we went to called Racak that had just a really startling story about their village that happened to them that I won't forget. In 1999, Serbian security-led like forces attacked the village early in the morning and like led like the men in the village like up this hill and just shot all of them. And they were all Albanians, and yeah, like it's just a monstrous story that like I don't think should be forgotten, and because the significance of that day actually like led to the NATO bombing that also happened in 1999 by the US, that then led to Kosovo's independence. And so yeah, just like the fact that that happened in 1999, like that was just 20 years ago, that human life was not valued. Just stories like that shouldn't be forgotten, because like I hope we can learn something from that, and also just like honor the families who lost family members there. People we met showed us like their homes, like the bullet shots in their walls. And there was a man there who we met, we greeted, shared the gospel with, and he then invited us out to lunch, and he wanted to share with us like his experience of that day and how several of his family members were killed and he was spared. And so like I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to visit that village and just like understand more of what they went through, and also like to see the graves, the memorial there, and just be reminded that like human life is not valued everywhere, and it really is something that I want to champion like throughout my life, that human life is to be valued. Yeah, I'm going to link a video below about the history of that village if you're interested in hearing the story from people there. Yeah, I just want to honor that village, honor those people, and not forget what happened to them. At another village, I got to meet a 15-year-old girl who was really passionate about learning. I met her mother, and her sister and brother, and she was telling me about how she had written a book and that she was trying to get it published currently, and that she had dreams of traveling and just helping people in need around the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you were me. You're so much like me when I was 15 years old. I got her mother's email, and so I can like just encourage her and like talk about literature with her, as well as just what I'm reading, what I'm writing, what she's reading, what she's writing, and just be someone who can really encourage her to like follow her dreams with those things and use those gifts, those strengths to empower others in the future. Every house that we went to, when they found out we were American, they wanted to shake our hands. They wanted to thank us for like our country's influence, and Kosovo becoming a country, and just the US just like looking out for them, supporting them, cheering them on. And so I thought that was just, it was really humbling because I didn't know that our country had so much to do with Kosovo, but it just, yeah, gave me like more gratitude to like see just like the gratitude in their eyes, like just these generations that have been in war for so long, that they are able to be alive when their country is free and when they can live in peace. And so I just, yeah, remember that look in their eyes and their gratitude, and I'm just glad that I got to be there for each of those moments, where like an American and like a Kosovar or Albanian got to meet and just like celebrate that Kosovo is free. Lastly, the church seeks to engage the community by creating displays outside of the church, just like in front of their church, for people to enjoy. For example, they have a like space for like a picnic table and some seats that you can swing on, for people to just enjoy. They also, during Christmas time, they set up a coffee bar outside, so people can come by and get coffee and just relax and visit. And then for Thanksgiving, the church went out and bought a lot of fresh produce and hay and just some different decorations. And so we decorated the front side of the church for people to take Thanksgiving pictures in front of. And so, yeah, we weren't even finished when people were starting to line up to sit on the hay and take pictures of their children or together. And so it was just really cool, just how much of a heart the church has for their neighbors, for their community, to just create things that are for them and that delight them. When we weren't volunteering, I really enjoyed going to Mother Teresa Boulevard, which was a popular place for people of all ages to hang out. I really enjoyed going to the Mexican restaurant there and a place called Mary's. There was also a bookstore behind the Mother Teresa statue that was amazing. It had all the books you could dream of. Near BPZ was an Italian coffee shop that Pastor Arthur would often take us to. Also, every morning before prayer time with the staff, we would also drink coffee or tea, so we drank a lot of coffee and tea this last month. During our last days in Kosovo, Arthur took us to Hotel Sirius for breakfast on the top floor, and I really recommend going there for breakfast because they had a buffet, and also the top floor has this incredible view of the city that you must see. another day we got lunch with our German and Austrian friends, Killian, Noemi, Hannah, and Deborah, and they're going to be serving in Kosovo for an entire year, and we had a lot of fun volunteering with them.
We have, is this beef chicken salad? Beef salad, veggie hamburger, and another veggie hamburger.
I'm so thankful to the staff at BPZ for taking such good care of us and just setting such a good example of what it looks like to be surrendered to God and to care for others with an urgency. They shared so much of their culture with us, from food, to language, to humor, to history. Kosovo is such a unique country. Before we left, the church gave us these shirts that have the villages we went to on the back and reminding us to pray for them. And so Kosovo is so worth visiting, and after you visit, a piece of your heart will remain there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
Receive love and mercy.